So first, we seek out the flaws in our makeup. We define what those things are that we want to get rid of by seeing they're not all positive. And then the list making is simple. Don't make too much to do of it. And remember, if you get the rock from somebody, that big one they don't want to tell anybody, the rest is downhill. If you don't get that rock from them before they start that list, they're going to sit there forever, torturing themselves because they know they're going to have to tell you and they don't want to do it. So grab that sucker fast. Turning to page, bottom of 65, we went back through our lives. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty, which is why I said, hey, just start from the beginning, and you can eliminate people. If you make a list of 100 people that you can remember, God does that in a session. Give yourself 30 minutes to make your list. You know who the guys are that you're really angry at. You don't have to think hard about that. Walk through your life, write them all down. What God gives you right there, you're done. There's a 10th step. People are going to pop up every single day after you're done. But you don't wait on step 4 until you've thought about it for a year, crippling yourself the whole time. You get busy, you get it done. And then what we do from here is, now we've been thorough and honest as we can in the moment, we move on. And when we're finished, we consider it carefully. So now I just explained how I walked through it. I got to, through high school, my first job, my second job, my third job, until I get up to the date. And I got those big, bad, ugly things. I wrote them down because they're in that time period. And I've been as thorough and honest as I can in the moment. Get busy. The first thing apparent was that the world and its people were often quite wrong. There are going to be people on that list that we really don't want to think about. To conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got. The usual outcome was we stayed sore. Sometimes where am I? Which paragraph? Sorry, it just flipped to the back. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sore at ourselves. But the more we fought and tried to have our own way, the worse matters got. As in war, the victor only seems to win. Our moments of triumph are short-lived. Now Bill is going to go back to why we should do the 4-step. If you look on the A page right there, there's a list of 9 reasons why we do the 4-step. I'm going to read this. I'm going to go through it. There's a list broken down. I do that a lot. I'll pull things out and just make a note there for you. Because this is the key to freedom. It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment, that's reworked anger, leads only to futility. We can never get out of it, and unhappiness. It always pops up. To the precise extent that we permit these. You see, because if I've got the same little resentment over all these different people, it's one big part that comes out in my personality. If I feel the same way about 10 different people, it reflects in my personality and how I react to others. And I don't even know it. It just becomes who I am. It's part of what I believe. To the precise extent we permit this, do we not squander the hours that might have been worthwhile? But with the alcoholic whose hope and maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, they're not good. This business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal. For when harboring these feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. The insanity of the alcohol returns, and we drink again. And with us, to drink is to die. We spiritually die for sure. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They are dubious luxuries, unreliable comfort of normal men. But for the alcoholic, these things are poison. So if you look on the other page, there they are, all 9 of them. Those are the reasons for the 4th. We turn back to the list, for it held the key. This is the list of people we just made. To the future. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world's people really dominated us. Hanging on to those little resentments, those little things formed and shaped who we are. In that state of wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, sometimes we just imagine it, had the power to actually kill. How could we escape? We saw that these resentments must be mastered, but how? We could not wish them away any more than alcohol. This was, of course, we realized that people who had wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. Though we did not like their symptoms and the way they disturbed us, they, like ourselves, were sick too. Now here come two prayers, right? So we've had the prayer for protection and care, surrender prayer, the third step prayer, and now we're going to look at the prayers to remove our anger. Right here, it says, we asked God. What does it mean to ask God? Pray. We asked God to help us show him the same tolerance, pity, and patience we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. Wow, and this is somebody who's wronged us. Pray for him for a while and see what happens. When a sick person offended, we said to ourselves, this is a sick man. How can I be helpful? God, save me from being angry. So we pray over people and we pray for the removal of our anger. As we're going through this list, we're actually learning how to pray. It's a prayer list. Those are all people in need of prayer. Right? All having the human experience. And whatever thing that you think you may have wronged, they may have wronged you, they might be carrying the same thing around with them. We should avoid retaliation or argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy our chances of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. Referring to our list again, so now we go back to the list. We make these little columns. We look at our self-centeredness, our self-esteem, all the things that are over there. It's simple. Don't make it a big deal. Willie Gergerich called me a fat kid. I punched him. It affected my self-esteem. Simple, right? Don't overthink it. Run through it. But now we're going to get to the part where we start to look at where our behavior is. Referring to our list, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. I hope Willie Gergerich doesn't, get a copy of this tape. I haven't seen him since we were kids. Hey, Willie, if I ever see you, we can talk about that one. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Love you, brother. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? Boom, it's a pick list again. Look over on the right page. It says that now we're going to look at where we're selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, frightened, and then from page 62, self-centered and played God. When we look at each one of those situations, how did we react? I was dishonest about how I felt when Willie called me a little fat kid. I was frightened. I was shameful. I was self-seeking. I tried to act like something I wasn't. So now I start looking at my defective characters, my reaction to those things. I start to hold on. I start to harbor them. Here's what it says. Though the situation had not been entirely our fault, we tried to disregard the other person involved entirely. Where were we to blame? The inventory was ours, not the other man's. When we saw our faults, we listed them. We placed them before us in black and white. We admitted our wrongs honestly and were willing to set matters straight. Bang. That's it. And there's going to be another pattern that emerges as you sit there and look at your part. And then we're going to get to writing in a minute. Before we do that, though, notice the word fear is bracketed alongside Mr. Brown and Miss Jones and the employer and the wife. This short word somehow touches about every aspect of our lives. What does it call fear? An evil and corrosive thread. Faith and fear cannot exist in the same time, in the same place. When we're in fear, faith cannot come. We have to turn away. Fear not. The scriptures say over and over, fear not. Fear not. When fear comes, God, give me strength. Fear not. But we do. We move into it. It's evil and it's corrosive. It is the fabric of our existence is shot through with it. The old nature is fearful. Even though we don't recognize it as fear, it's what it is. It sets in motion the trains of circumstances which brought us misfortune we felt we didn't deserve. But did we not ourselves set the ball rolling? Sometimes we think fear ought to be classed with stealing. it seems to cause more trouble. Bang. We reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper even though there was no resentment. So bang, we finish, we go through our list. Was there fear? We look at every situation. We looked at that. Was there any fear? Now we make a list of everything we're afraid of. Right? So we go through, and you may have some phobia of something. What are your fears? What are things you're afraid of? Being alone? People knowing what you really think? Not being loved? What are your fears that aren't attached to a human being? We just write them down because we're going to offer them to God. We're going to give them to Him. We're going to lay them at the cross where they belong. That's what we're told to do. Bring it all to Him. So here we go. We make that list of our fears. We asked, here it comes again. We ask ourselves why we had them. Wasn't it because self-reliance had failed us? Bang, right back to the other chapter. Self-reliance was good as far as it went, but it didn't go far enough. Some of us once had great confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem. Only your faith will take care of fear. Only. When it made us cocky, it was worse. Oh boy. Perhaps there is a better way. We think so. For we are now on a different basis, here it is, of trusting and relying upon God. We trust an infinite God rather than our finite selves. How big is that God? If your God ain't big enough, man up to that one. Infinite, unlimited power resource. Here we go. Rather than our finite selves. We are in a world to play the role He assigns, just to the extent that we do as we think He would have us, and humbly rely upon Him. Does He not enable us to match calamity with serenity? Boom, opposites. Bill's introducing that law of opposites. Now here we go to men of faith. When fear is cast out by faith, and faith creates courage, here we go. We never apologize to anyone for depending upon our Creator. Big. We laugh at those who think the spiritual way of weakness, paradoxically, is a way of strength. The verdict of the age is that faith means courage. All men of faith have courage. They trust their God. We never apologize for God. Instead, we let Him demonstrate through us what He can do. We ask Him to remove our fear. Boom, next prayer. God, remove my fear. Get it, take it, all of it. And as we lean into our faith, our fears start to subside. But once we voice it, boom, the tongue has the power of life and death. It's the second step. As I speak it out, it goes away. When I share these things on this list with another human being, the fear melts. If I keep it for myself, it's just a list of things that I can beat myself up with. We have commenced to outgrow fear. Bang. Now we've done 3 parts of the inventory. We've examined our defects. We've made a list of persons that we have resentment towards, and we've got our fears on paper. And this better not take very long. And if you haven't done it, just go home and do it tonight. It just isn't that hard. We make it into something that it's not because we're unwilling to sit and walk a man through it. And if somebody took you through it, however they did it, the best way they did it, that's okay too. But if a man is truly ready, you want to get them doing this when they're really wet. The drier we become sitting around not working steps, the harder they are to take because the old nature doesn't want to give up. And the more you stay sober and the longer you stay sober without thinking you need to do this, you might not end up doing it. And then you're surprised when the strange mental blank spot comes and hits you upside the head. Now about sex. For the Spirit of God does not make a spirit of timidity, but one of power, love, and self-discipline. Boom. Many of us needed an overhauling here. Yeah, we did. Above all, this one's kind of hard with ladies in the room, but we're going to do it anyway. We tried to be sensible on this question. It is easy to get way off track. Here, the human opinions run to various extremes, absurd extremes perhaps. And now it's going to jump into a list, and I'm going to make this real simple for you. One set of voices cries that sex is the lust of a lower nature, the base necessity of procreation. Stop right there. I'm going to read this next page, but look to the A page. There's 18 things there. I took the statements that Bill made on page 69 and converted them into questions. That's the way I was showed to do the sexual inventory. It prepares the heart for the next part. So what we do is we say, do I need an overhauling in my sexual behavior? What are you doing? Is my attitude about sex sensible? Am I off track? Is my opinion about sex extreme and absurd? Do I believe that sex is a lust of my lower nature? Do I always want more? Do I believe that marriage troubles are caused by sex? Do I think I don't get enough of it? Do I think I'm not getting the right kind? What is the right kind? Is sex significant to me? And so these are the things that Bill is going to write on the other side. First two paragraphs, 69.0 and 61, and he makes some statements. We turn them into questions. It makes it easy for you. And then what are we going to do with it? So let's read real quick. Voices cry out for sex and more sex, and bewail the institution of marriage. Who think that the most troubles of the races are traceable to sex. They think they don't have enough of it, or it isn't the right kind. They see its significance everywhere. One school would allow a man no flavor for his fare. The other would have him on a salt and pepper diet. We want to stay out of controversy. We are not the arbiters of another person's sexual behavior. Stay out of it. None of my affair. We all have sexual problems. We'd hardly be human if we didn't. What can we do about it? Okay, now look what it says to do. We reviewed our conduct over the past years. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate, and to whom had we hurt? Time for another list. Now, we're going to take this list. I skipped my part, didn't I? Scotty? Not there yet? Okay. All right, so we take this list. Now it says that we have people. So there may be people that didn't make it on the other inventory. They didn't come to mind because you weren't thinking about that girl in the bar and what you did to her, the pain that you caused, dropping her on the porch at 2 a.m, drunk as could be, or whatever else you did. It didn't come in that first resentment list because there's no resentment with it. So now we got a second list, and I just tell people, go back through all the different folks that you can think of that you had interaction with, or people who you had used sex as a weapon. Did you make anybody jealous? Did you make your buddy jealous by paying attention to his girl? What did you do? And it tells us what to do with it. Because all of that stuff, all of that behavior, we have to look at it. We have to know what it is. We have to, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that anymore. What's the opposite of that? Where do we go? Lost my page again. Here we go. Bring it. Where were we at fault? What should we have done instead? So when we write out my part, when we're looking at that pick list, I did forget it. When we go back to that pick list, flip back to page 67A. I'll give you an example. My dad was on my list. I was mad at my dad because he used to beat us a lot. And he taught me that the way to solve problems was through violence. Those were the two big things in my relationship with my father. I was dishonest with him. I never told him how I really felt. It made me frightened. It made me selfish and self-centered and dishonest and self-seeking. I wanted to look like something that I wasn't. So I wrote about it. I wrote down, I never really told my father how I felt. I was dishonest with him all the time. And I looked at that and I started to go, you know what? What was going on in his life? He was a 22, 24-year-old kid who came to this country on a boat from another country, not knowing how to speak English. Got my mother pregnant with my brother, tried to do the right thing and got married, had a job that he hated, was angry all the time, a very dark-skinned man, married to a very pale woman, felt some prejudice, and he did the best he could given his circumstances. And when I wrote about it, all of a sudden I wasn't focused on what he did to me. I was focused on the pain that he had. And I ended up praying for him. And as I prayed for my father, my fear and my anger and all of it got set aside. Now, he's still a piece of work. And he hasn't changed very much, except he doesn't lift his hands anymore. He's too old. But, you know, it's his journey. It's his walk. It's not mine. He's free. He's free to do what he wants, and I'm free not to kill myself over it anymore. So that's what we do. We write those things out. So now we get back here and we do the same thing with our sexual behavior. And what we write about here is a little different. Had I been selfish, dishonest, or inconsiderate? So I got a gal on my list, and what did I do? And where was I selfish, dishonest, or inconsiderate? And we look at those relationships because now there's another flaw in our defect that we're looking at, and it's this dishonesty and this being inconsiderate. One's a lie, and one's total selfishness. Had we unjustifiably aroused, here it is, this is how we deal with men, if you're a man or a woman, jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness. We do things to get a rise out of other people. It all has to come out. Where were we at fault? What should we have done instead? We got this all down on paper and looked at it. In this way, we tried to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. We subjected each relationship to the test. Was it selfish or not? Now look what it does. We ask God to mold our ideas and to help us live up to them. Prayer. Now we start to move our prayer life because we've prayed surrender. We've prayed for resentment and anger to be gone. Now we're starting to move our prayer life. If you turn to page 259, in the prayers of the fourth, we start to look at, oh, it's not 259. 50? Thank you. Somebody's had their finger on it still. So we got prayer of surrender, prayers to have anger removed, and that's a God blocker. Prayers for fear to be removed. Here, now we're moving to inspiration. That's to be connected to him. And for the next right thought, that's the action of inspiration. And then finally, for him to bless us. And on the other page, it shows you where all of those prayers are, specifically in the step. So the fourth step is about uncovering these things so that we can make confession, but it's also learning how to pray. For the agnostic, this may be the first time that he prays. He has no idea who God is, how he prays, what he does. And we start praying for these things. We start asking for release from them. But there is an order to prayer, and he walks us through it. Where am I, Scotty? 70? Oh, still on the sexual inventory, 69. Okay. We ask God to mold our ideals and to help us live up to them. We remember always that our sexual powers are God-given and therefore good. Neither are they to be used lightly or selfishly, nor to be despised or loathed. Whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow towards it. My sponsor had me write here my ideal sexual relationship. He said, I want you to write what you think that relationship would be like, who it would be like, what it would be like. And I wrote out my ideal woman, what she looked like, what she would think, color of her eyes, the shape of her build, the way she thought, how she believed. I had this whole thing all written out. I still have it. It's in my truck. My fourth step, I said I've only written one because I still have it. I use it all the time when I'm working with men. I show it to them. It's almost comical, the things that had control over my life back then. But I prayed over that list for 7 years. And I walked into a thing one day, confirmed bachelor at the age of 33, and there was my wife. I saw her, and I knew it. And I went over there, and I introduced myself, and we started talking. And the more we talked, the more I just knew. And within a couple of months, the confirmed bachelor was going to get married, right? And it came because I took the time to know what I wanted in my ideal relationship. Now, I had to pray for the woman to be manifested. If you're married, man, you can start praying for that person to become the man you want them to be, or the woman. We pray over the people in our lives. And they see our life change, and it begins to change them. Prayer is such a big thing. All right, where am I? 69. 69.3. Whatever our ideals turned out to be, we must be willing to grow towards it. We must be willing to make amends. Oh, we're talking about amends already. Where we have done harm, provided if that we do not bring about still more harm in doing so. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. Now, there was a girl in high school. I saw at a reunion one time. I thought I was really terrible to her, and I went up and I said, I really wasn't so nice to you back then. And she was on my sexual inventory. And she looked at me like I had 12 eyes. Now, I saw her at like my 25th reunion, right? So whatever it was, it'd been a long time. And she's like, Rick, it never bothered me. Sometimes we carry these things around, and we think that we've done things, and we're beating ourselves over the head, and the other person didn't have anything. Sometimes we go and we're making amends. We'll get to that later. And we ask them for forgiveness, and they say, well, what did I do? We say, I can't, it's not about that. No, please tell me so that I can be free. It's such an interesting process when we start to walk through this. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. Now look, we're in the fourth step, but look, in meditation, now, how did I get to meditation? You'll hear people say the steps are written there in order for a reason. No, they're not. I got to pray now. I can't wait till step 11. I need prayer. I need meditation. I need to contemplate my time with God right out of the gate. And here it is. We ask God what we should do in each specific matter. God, give me the inspiration. Tell me what to do. How do I make this right? The right answer will come if we want it. God alone is the judge of our sexual situation. Counsel with persons is often desirable, but let God be the final judge. We realize that some people are fanatical about sex and others are loose. We avoid hysterical thinking. Suppose we fall short of our chosen ideal and stumble. Does it mean that we're going to get drunk? Some people tell us so, but this is only a half-truth. It depends on our motives. If we are sorry for what we have done, and this applies to the entire fourth step, and have an honest desire to let God take us to better things, we believe we will be forgiven. We are already forgiven for everything that we've ever done and everything we ever will do. If we stay on course and we walk towards Him, we walk in freedom, we walk in forgiveness. And we will learn, and we have learned our lesson. If we are not sorry for our conduct, and our conduct continues to harm others, we are quite sure to drink. You don't get to change deck chairs on the Titanic. You don't go from your gluttonous drinking pattern to lust or to embracing anger. We don't go to one of our other defects in character and lean into it to feel better, because the result will be the same. And it'll always lead you back to your favorite. It says resentment's the number one offender. Anybody drive a car around here? You ever get upset in traffic? Do you guys have traffic here in Montana? Come on now. I saw a guy in the parking lot yesterday. I'm like, look at this guy with his trailer. Can't he move over? Doesn't he know we're coming through the parking lot? He's letting his wife out. He's unloading things. What's wrong with this man? I went, oh, Lord, how funny is that? Right? We're not going anywhere fast. There's no traffic here. It's fantastic. And here's this one person who stopped in front of you. Get behind me, Satan. You ain't going to get me with that one. Nice try. But we're quick to that. We're quick to move to anger, to fear, to these things that draw us away from God. Turn back and pivot. To sum it up about sex, we earnestly pray for the right ideal. Here it comes again, more prayer. For guidance in each questionable situation, for sanity, for the strength to do the right thing. There it is. The next right thought comes from Him. If sex is troublesome, we throw ourselves harder into helping others. We think of their needs and to work for them. This takes us out of ourselves. It quiets our impervious urge when to yield would mean heartache. If we have been thorough about our personal inventory, we've written down a lot. We have listed and analyzed our resentments. We have begun to comprehend their futility and fatality. We have commenced to see the terrible destructiveness. We have begun to learn tolerance, patience, and goodwill towards all other men, even our enemies, for we look on these as sick people. We have a list of people we have hurt in our conduct and are willing to straighten out our past. In this book, you will read again and again that faith did for us what we could not do for ourselves. We hope you will be convinced now that God can remove whatever self-will blocks us from Him. That's the whole idea here. For you have already made a decision, you gave him your will and your life, and an inventory of your grosser handicaps, your flaws in your makeup, for you have made a good beginning. That being so that you have swallowed and digested some hard chunks of truth about yourself. On the opposing page, it lists 5 things that the Oxford group said in this process, a lot there to consume. Let's take a break.